Hello and welcome back. This is We Talk Football. Now, today I'm going to continue the series that I've been doing for the past few weeks. And we're back with another video. We're back with another top 10 greatest club teams of all time. Now, this series, I've been doing this series for the past few weeks. And now we're into the top 5. Coming in at number 5 is a team that was dominant in that season. It felt like they were so huge, they were so big. You lost before the game began with that team. They were that good, right? And I'm talking about the 2012-2013 Bayern Munich team that won the treble under Jupp Heynckes, who felt like such a maverick. He came, he won his treble, and he went. And this team is, I wanted to talk about them, give them their flowers, they were awesome. I was around, I think I was around 18, 19 years old when that happened. And they were just so good. You know what I mean? They were like almost impossible to play against. And today I wanted to focus on them. And I just wanted to remind you of the top 10 so far. At number 10, the 2019-2020 Bayern Munich. Number 9 is the 1998-1999 Manchester United that was so unique. Number 8 is the 2007-2008 Manchester United with Cristiano Ronaldo scoring 42 goals and bagging himself a Ballon d'Or. At number 7, I'm talking about the Manchester City team that broke my heart, that won the treble, that beat my Arsenal to the league title. Dominant Erling Haaland, flying. And then at number 6 last week, the 2016-2017 Real Madrid with Cristiano Ronaldo, the 3 in midfield, Kroos, Casemiro, Modric, dominating, and today I'm talking about, as I said, the 2012-2013 Bayern Munich. That team won a treble. Now we're starting off with the trophies. They won a treble. This is one of the most, I'm talking about one of the most dominant teams I've ever seen play. It seemed like they were going to win every single game of football they were playing. They were, like, if you think of that Bayern Munich team, they almost seemed perfect. You know what I mean? Like, just the perfect team. They had balance defensively, they had control and dominance in midfield, fluid, explosive, fast. They scored goals on offense, and they were almost impossible to play against. They were that good, and they won the treble by beating, in the final of the Champions League, they beat Borussia Dortmund 2-1 to exercise the ghosts of the previous year when they lost to Chelsea in their own Allianz Arena. And then they won the Bundesliga. They got 98 points. They got 91 points, scoring 98 goals and only conceding 18. Crazy. Now, I mean, of course, the Bundesliga at that time, especially for Bayern Munich, you could almost count it as a trophy. Or you may not count it as a trophy. That's how easy it was for Bayern Munich to win the Bundesliga. But you have to still give them credit for what they did. And they won the DFB Pokal, beating Stuttgart 3-2 in the final. And so, like, nothing was going to stop that team from winning trophies. You know what I mean? And because they had everything, and I'm talking from defense to offense, like the players that they had, we can highlight an array of stars from top to bottom. And like, if you think about that team and you think about how they dominated so much with their entire team that it was difficult to choose a Ballon d'Or favorite from them. And you ended up having Frank Ribery, because he was just that outstanding. He was, he was in the Bayern team. He was the leader in terms of, could he win the Ballon d'Or? he was the one who could have, if it went to a Bayern Munich player, could have went to Robin. But it could also have gone to Tony Cruz. It could obviously have gone to Ian Robben. It could have gone to Schweinsteiger. It could have gone to Thomas Müller. The Ballon d'Or could have gone to Philipp Lahm, David Alaba. It could have gone to Manuel Neuer. And that's the kind of team that they had. You know, like it was a team made of superstars. But we've seen so many times, not just in football, but just in sports, you can have on paper the greatest team ever assembled, but if they don't play as a team, if they don't work as a unit, it's going to be hard for the team to progress, to do well. You know what I mean? And that Bayern team, like, they just got it, man. Like, they were united, they were one, and they moved as one, defensively, offensively, when they pressed, you know, scoring goals. They shared the goals amongst the team, and they scored plenty goals, bro. They scored. I told you, they scored 98 goals in the Bundesliga. They scored a further 20 goals in 6 games in the DFB Pokal to win the trophy. Not really sure how many goals they scored in the Champions League, but I'm just telling you how activated that attack was. It was on, man. It was on. Like, you couldn't stop them. Ask Barcelona. They know. Ask Barcelona. They know. And, like, that's the kind of firepower they had. Even with Job Heynckes as the manager, as the coach. I think that was his second run as the Bayern coach. And this time he won everything. Because, like, he was quite an old coach at the time. Like, right now he's 80 years old, so at the time he was about 67 years old. Very experienced, very, very ambitious, great coach. You know, he made the system very simple for the team to play, and that's what we're going to talk about next, like the style of play, right? And I'm talking about the way they played. Before we go there, there's this point, like, as I'm talking about the players, I just mentioned Ribéry and the Ballon d'Or, and ultimately Ronaldo won, right? Ultimately Ronaldo won the Ballon d'Or, and I don't have a problem with Ronaldo winning because he scored 66 goals that season, but he didn't win any major trophy. He didn't win the La Liga league. He didn't win the Champions League. He didn't win the Copa del Rey. He didn't win anything. And he won the Ballon d'Or. Now, my thing is, when Messi won La Liga and he won, I think in 2010 he won La Liga. I'm not sure if he won Bundesliga. Maybe he could have. I mean, if he won the Copa del Rey. I ain't sure. But when Messi wins at least a trophy and loses in the semi-finals of the Champions League to Wesley Sneijder, people were up in arms. Wesley Sneijder won a treble. He got to the World Cup final. He should have been the Ballon d'Or. And I don't disagree with that, right? But when Ribéry does the same thing, and at a higher level as well, winning the treble with Bayern Munich, being the best player for Bayern Munich, and then Ronaldo winning the Ballon d'Or, I ain't got no problem. But I don't want to hear Ronaldo fans saying Messi robbed, blah blah blah. I don't want to hear that. I almost said I don't want to hear that SH, bro. Like, that is straight BS. When Ronaldo fans, when you bring this to them, Ronaldo scored 66 goals. He was fantastic, but he didn't win any major trophy. Messi won the league in 2010. Ronaldo didn't win anything. And then you want to tell me that Ribéry shouldn't have won the Ballon d'Or? Fair is fair. Like, you have to call it what it is. You know what I mean? Like, let's get it right. Let's get it right, man. Ronaldo didn't win anything that year, but he won the Ballon d'Or. How did that happen? Now, I don't want to hear Ronaldo fans crying wolf no more, bro. Anyway, moving on. Style of play. Very, very offensive team. One of the most offensive teams I've ever seen in my life. They were, when the whistle blew, they were like this, bro. They were on. They scored goals. They attacked with lethal pace. Like as I said, right? They had Tony Cruz and they had Bastian Schweinsteiger in midfield. Now the amount of passing, the amount of control that that kind of team would have is dominant because you have two players who can shift it well with efficiency, high IQ guys who are great on the ball, technically one of the greatest at passing, shooting, finding the short man, going long, and they had two jets out wide. They had Ribery and Ian Robben, probably the greatest winger duo of all time. I think that's safe to say. I think it's safe to say that Ribery and Ian Robben are probably the greatest two wingers in a team as a duo of all time. Now, I know you had Ronaldo and Bale. You know, I'm trying to think of examples. You had Beckham and Giggs in their heyday. Perez, Ljungberg at Arsenal. I mean, there's probably a long list. But I think as a duo, for the amount of time they spent together and the peaks they reached, the trophies they won together, they won a treble. Bale and Ronaldo didn't win a treble. As successful as Bale and Ronaldo was, and also it wasn't very long. Oh, maybe if you think of like peaks and achievements, maybe you could say Messi and Neymar as a wide duo because they did play wide with Suarez in the middle during the MSN season, right? But I think for the amount of time they spent together, how long they played together, how good they were, you had Robben and Ribery flying. They were lethal. They were pacey, skillful. They were ambitious. They wanted to win. They scored goals. They created goals. They had everything back, bro. They had a bag. When you talk about a bag, you had two players who had the ultimate bag. You didn't know who to close off, who to focus on in one game. You focus on Ribery, Robben is gonna kill you. You focus on Robben, Ribery is gonna do the things to you, bro. It's gonna do the madness. And you also had like great defense. And I'm not taking like all-time great, but they were just really solid enough, right? Because they pressed well, and also they had two fullbacks who were amazing. Alaba at that time, he was awesome. Maybe the best left back at that time. You had Philip Lahm. Philip Lahm, you could make a case he's a Mount Rushmore fullback. You could genuinely make a case he's one of the top 4 fullbacks of all time. And they were both in their prime. Manuel Neuer, who I've said many, many times, he's the greatest goalkeeper I've ever seen. He's the greatest goalkeeper of all time, in my opinion. And like tell me about the balance of that team, right? Like balance from top to bottom. They had everything, all of it, bro, all of it. And that's why they were so awesome. Big games. I mean, the biggest game or the biggest games you want to talk about is when they beat Prime. And I'm not talking about like Barcelona at their end. This is 2012, 2013 Barcelona at their prime with everyone with their full powers. Like everyone was fully powered. Messi was in his prime. Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets. You still had Thiago in the team. You know what I mean? You had Pedro, you had Fabregas. You still had Fabregas at Barcelona. Valdez, PK. They couldn't do anything. That Bayern team made a mess of the Barcelona team. Both legs in the Champions League semi-final. And I can't remember who was talking about this. They made a strategy. They said Robben and Ribery would change how they play instead of like stay wide when they defend, but they tuck in a little bit to pack the midfield because like that's how Barcelona played, right? Like their midfield was so key because it gave them control. Now, if you have Iniesta, Xavi, and Busquets going like 3-on-3 against your midfield three, you're probably going to lose. So they tried to bring Ribery and Robben in as much as they could to kind of crowd the midfield for Barcelona, not give them spaces to pass through, not give them time to hang about. They put them under pressure, and once they got the ball, they punched them. They scored 4 goals in the first leg, and they scored 3 goals in the second leg at the Camp Nou. That's how good that Bayern team was. You know what I mean? Like, that's the standout big game that I can, talk to you about and tell you. Of course, you want to go to the final as well when they beat Borussia Dortmund. A great Borussia Dortmund at that. I mean, like, think about it. That was Robert Lewandowski, Mario Götze, all them boys, Marco Reus and Jurgen Klopp. When they were great, when they won, it was not like that far off from when they won the double. No, not the double, but they went back to back Bundesliga champions. Jurgen Klopp with that Borussia Dortmund team, and they beat them in the final. They beat them in Bundesliga by 25 points. Insane numbers. That's just how good that Bayern team was. They were dominant. And maybe you could say they were angry because BVB, Borussia Dortmund, had won back-to-back titles in Germany. Maybe that switched Bayern Munich on. It made them angry. It made them, mad dogs, bro. And degree of difficulty, like, it wasn't a very difficult. Let me not say it wasn't a very difficult, but the Champions League was difficult. I think they had Borussia Dortmund in the same group as them, and they met in the final. They met in the Bundesliga so many times. When you play a team so much, they figure it out. They know you now, and you can't get them with something new. You know them, they know you, and so the Champions League group was tough. The knockouts were tough. That's when it was tough. Like, they had to play Arsenal, and I know Arsenal struggle in the Champions League, but it's still Arsenal. You know what I mean? Like, and they beat Arsenal 3-1. Now, they lost the second leg 2-0, but that was still away goals rules, and Arsenal, even though it was a 3-3 on aggregate, Arsenal were knocked out. They faced Juve in the quarterfinals, beat Juve 2-0, and it was a great Juve team with Buffon and all them boys. They beat Barcelona, as I've just said earlier, 3-0, 4-0, 3-0 in the second leg, 7-up on aggregate, 7-up, bro. Whew. Insane. And then they beat Borussia Dortmund in the final. So, like, that was tough. That was a good run for them. And if you look back, you think of the teams they beat in the knockout stages, like, yeah, great team. Like, you want that kind of run if you win the Champions League or any kind of big trophy, you know what I mean? Like, you want to go through the best to ultimately, like, be at the peak and be called number one, be called the best team in the world. And they were. Anyway, thank you very much. That was nice. That was fun. Another fun video. I'm enjoying these. I get to go back, as I've said many times, I get to go back, watch old games, watch documentaries, see these teams play, see old legends, see old players and what they did. And I get to talk about it. Like, it's fun. It's the ultimate. You know what I mean? Pre-season, nothing much going on, so I get time to do this. I've been thinking of doing this for a long time, so I'm glad I'm doing this now. Anyway, have a nice weekend. Remember, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, share. Look us up on Instagram and on Facebook at We Talk Football 24, on Facebook at We Talk Football. Have a nice weekend. Thank you very much. Awareness.